Welcome to the Mr. Universe Meets podcast in association with the Mansformation Programme. Now, the Mansformation Programme is a 12-week programme for men that want to level up their training, nutrition, lifestyle and mindset so that they can live in a body that looks great, feels great and has unstoppable energy. On this podcast, we're going to be speaking to athletes that have reached the top of their game to understand their mindset, habits and routines and what makes them elite. I want you to take advantage of the lessons they teach and go and smash your own goals. I would love it if you guys would like, share and subscribe and enjoy the podcast. All right, so today we are joined by Ryan Terry. Now, Ryan is the poster boy for the men's physique class. He has won multiple Arnold titles right around the world. He's been the runner-up in the Mr. Olympia show, and he has had over 40 international fitness magazine covers. So, Ryan, if you could give us a little introduction on yourself and tell us how you got started on the road to becoming essentially a world-famous bodybuilding and fitness star.
That's quite impressive, that, Stuart. So, Ryan Terry, obviously from the UK, 33 years old now. Started training when I was 14. I was very competitive growing up in sport. So I started off in gymnastics, football and swimming. So that's kind of where my physique and core work came into it. When I got into my teenage years, I started to develop that complex. Obviously, girls were coming on the scene and you started to give a shit of what you look like. And it was, I started to develop a bit of a complex. So I wanted to build my physique, to build that confidence, that self-confidence. So at the time, my kind of stepdad was Andy Beresford. You know Andy Beresford. He was a big open class bodybuilder, and he introduced me to the gym, Backstreet Bodybuilding, Spit and Sawdust gym, and that's when my training, my bodybuilding started. My career started there. So I did that for 7 years just as a hobby, and it came to a point where I was seeing all these guys training around me and they were all training for something. They had a purpose in the gym and they had that discipline and that motivation and that drive for something, and I was lacking that, and I still had that competitive side of me, even though I wasn't doing my gymnastics, my football or anything more, but I still had that competitive side in me. So it was only when I was 20 years old I decided I needed that to progress in my training, and that's when I went for my first show.
So that was when you was at the bodybuilding that you went first, because before that you were doing the Mr. International, right?
I thought I was going to try and hide that.
To explain what that is, because I know that we take the piss sometimes and call it the male beauty pageant thing. But
well, it was
that's
effectively,
what it is,
So basically,
how did that come about? So
I was plumbing. I was working on site, and I'd never in a million years took my top off or had a picture for a photo shoot or anything like that. And I was going through a bit of a dark stage in my life. So my girlfriend of 5 years, we split up. I was looking to lose my house because I was on an apprenticeship wage. I had a mortgage, and I got made redundant. It's when the recession hit. So things were really, really bad at that point for me. And I went to a barbecue, and a friend of mine got me a little bit drunk, and I ended up taking my top off. There was a few of us and a girl took a picture, would you believe this? And she sent it in. At the time, it was Galaxy radio station. Now it's Capital, but it used to be called Galaxy. And she sent it into a competition, and I ended up winning Mr. June, which was like a beauty thing. And off the back of that, I got approached by some modelling agencies. So I just went with it. It was more of a confidence thing. It was passing my time. It was like picking me up from being a bit down about obviously my ex-girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up being put forward for Mr. Great Britain. I went down to London, did a big cast there, and I won Mr. Great Britain. Then 3 months later, I was on a plane to Indonesia with this sash on, Mr. Great Britain, in this suit, which I could not afford. And I went against 41 different countries, all these models who were like Hugo Boss models, like all catwalk models, proper good-looking men. And I was thinking, what am I doing here? I've only just put hair gel in for the first time in a year. I ended up winning Mr. International. So it just literally snowballed from there. And it was, you'd say, a bit of luck, really.
And that was a huge competition. There was a big television audience. Was it television audience, a big live audience? Or?
Yeah, it was huge. So I think there was 10,000 in the audience, but it was live on national TV, on Indonesian TV, and it went across the whole of the world because obviously the Philippines, there were Australia, America, everybody. It was streamed across the world. So before I knew it, I won an apartment in Singapore. I travelled the world. I never went back from Indonesia. I travelled the world for a year, representing the federation, judging Miss, Miss Philippines and Miss Venezuela. And I was, this is crazy.
Well, that's it, from going from being just, like I say, plumber from Retford
exactly.
to now you're...
being made redundant and losing my house to having an apartment in Singapore. And it was a bit of a fairy tale, really. Yeah,
absolutely. So then what made you kind of leave that and move into the men's physique class? Because when the men's physique class, it was initially kind of a class that wasn't really accepted by,
the
regular bodybuilding community. It was a bit weird. It was a little bit weird at the time. Do you know, like you're wearing shorts, but don't even train your legs. You know what's going on here. So, did that bother you, or did you just like block the noise out and you knew what you wanted to do with it?
Yeah. So for me, obviously, when I came back from Mr. International after that year was up, my contracts were released, but I was still with all these modelling agencies who were getting me commercial work. So I was doing like DFS adverts and just TV commercials, which was great. But I was still doing work in Indonesia, like modelling work and stuff. But it got to a point where I was still training the way I trained. And naturally, I was getting bigger, building more muscle. And it came to a point where it was actually on a catwalk in Indonesia where they said you're too big for the clothes because they're a lot smaller framed and they don't like that muscular look over there. So it's when I came to a crossroad. Do I carry on pursuing my fitness goals and keep growing and doing what I love, or do I refrain back, lose the muscle and carry on in commercial work? And for me, it was a no-brainer. I've always loved sports. I love bodybuilding, and I just wanted to see where it'd take me. So I pursued that. I then went on to obviously sponsorship with USN for 12 years. And I was going towards myself, obviously, Ken, our nutritionist. We was looking at a show, what I could do, what class I could fit into. And at the time, it was classic bodybuilding, but not the classic bodybuilding most people know, like the Chris Bumstead. It was more, do you remember with the bodybuilding trunk?
Yeah.
The classic, like Rich Dickinson, he used to go into that. So I started working towards that. And then Men's Physique got announced. And in the description of Men's Physique, it was everything what I was doing for a living. So it was all, the way they described it is we want that beach body look, the person who steps off the front cover and can have that attainable all year round look. And that's what I was doing for a job. So I was doing all the front covers and I was maintaining it all year. And it was that, at the time, it was more softer, attainable. And I just felt like it was calling. And I was a bit gutted because of the shorts. Like I train my legs like any other bodybuilder. And it was a shame to cover them up. But it fitted in perfect because I could still carry on doing all the work I wanted to do, but also compete and do what I love in that sport.
Did you find that quite a tough decision? Because obviously you were, like you say, at the top of, when that federation with Mr. International.
Yeah.
To kind of go right back down to the bottom and kind of have to start again and climb that ladder again.
Yeah, for me, and I shouldn't say this because most winners don't have that mindset, but I've always enjoyed being an underdog. I've always enjoyed training in the shadows, keeping myself to myself, and then doing the work on stage. So when it felt like a new challenge. It felt like no one had achieved anything in that division yet. So it was a new division, and there were so many things. My mind was running wild because I was thinking, I can set so many legacies here because I can win stuff what no one's ever won before. And that's kind of what drove me to start again. And at the time, I could have gone with WBFF. They were quite a big federation at the time. And I went to a show, and I was umming and ahhing, do I go down the WBFF route? Because again, it was more modelly. It was kind of, or do I do this UK BFF, Men's Physique, what no one's done before? And then I noticed there was 3 or 4 people got a pro card in one show for coming fourth. They got a pro card in WBFF. And I was like, that's not what I want to be. I need a challenge, and I need to be known as the best in the world at what I do. So I went down the Men's Physique route, and it was very difficult for me because I still had those fears of that confidence of taking my top off in front of people and stuff, and to step on stage in front of 300 people in an auditorium was absolutely scary as hell.
Quite
for
daunting,
me.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I need to face my fears, and I need to do it just once. I thought I'll do it once and see what happens, and then. Yeah, within 6 months of doing my first show, we won, obviously, UK Nationals. We then went on to win the Arnold Classic. And at the time, in Europe, there was no height class, or there was no, because it was a new class, they didn't know what to do. So there was 110 of us in one class. Can you imagine that? It's absolutely mind-blowing. And yeah, I ended up winning that in the overall, and then won the British the week after. And yeah, before I knew it, I'd turned pro, and first pro from the UK. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Well, we'll get back to the second, but you touched there on your sponsorship you had with USN, and that actually allowed you to pack in plumbing, did it?
Yeah.
And so, I suppose like at a time when, most bodybuilders were happy just to say they were sponsored and they get the freedom of protein every month. I'm a sponsored athlete. Yeah. You actually got a wage paid that allowed you to really focus on that. So how did that progress your career?
So actually, before I joined USN, obviously I was saying I was an apprenticeship plumber, but I used to pot wash every night as well. So I'd finish my apprenticeship at 4:30, and that was on site. I'd train for an hour and I'd be straight to doing pot washing every night. And Saturday I'd do removals, house removals, Sunday pot washing all day. So I had that work instilled to me that if you want to earn more money and you want to do better in life, you have to work more hours. So then to get this contract with USN where I was doing what I loved, not having to do all these hours and train more and eat more and sleep more, to then get a sponsorship as well was just unbelievable. And I never took that for granted. And because I was always instilled about that work ethic, it was never, I won't say it was never enough. I never wanted to just sit there. A lot of bodybuilders, once they got sponsored, there was like they wanted to sit back and got sponsored and that's it, let them do the work. But I was always like, no, I need to do better for that company so they appreciate me. But at the same time, I can grow within that company and build a life for myself I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched there as well, like on obviously your stepdad and Ken, like those were two of your early mentors or anybody else that kind of pushed you down that track, or were they the main guys that have helped to kind of shape where you're at today?
Yeah, so there's a few people, like for instance, in primary school, so this was the first person who really instilled the competitive side of me. His name was Mr. Flint, he was my head teacher. Amazing guy. He wouldn't get away with what he got away with now. He was very brutal. Like he broke my toe in gymnastics because he threw me over the vault because I wasn't getting my knee up right and my arms right. He nearly drowned me because whenever you were swimming, if you tried to come off or you got tired and you come to the edge, you had the mop from the side. He used to poke you back into the but he always, you was a winner or nothing else. There's no second place there. And our school was phenomenal. It achieved it was like the football champions. We were swimming at Ponds Forge in nationals. We were national champions. Gymnastics, same. We never lost anything because he instilled that work ethic in us. So that's someone I always look up to and thank for that. It was a bit brutal. Like say even, we used to do splits. He used to, if I couldn't get fully down, he'd push, on my shoulder, which is so dangerous, isn't it? But back then that was a done thing. He'd just help you to the floor. Yeah. So there's him. Obviously Ken was a great guidance for me in teaching me about nutrition and the training aspect of it. And then there's another guy, Rob Pickering. He was my first guy I worked for, the pot washing, from the age of 14. And he was a brilliant businessman. Like he worked some serious hours, but he didn't put all his eggs in one basket. He had a restaurant, he was a chef there, head chef, but he had all these different little income streams coming in. And that's what he taught me to do with my life. And that's what I've done. I've mimicked that. So yeah, a few people.
And you're still obviously like learning them lessons, taking from them lessons that you learned back then, now, what you're doing now. Yeah, absolutely.
Just before we had this podcast, I was trying to sort some investments out on that. So yeah, it's still going. Yeah,
excellent,
it's still doing.
Excellent. So, well, obviously Ken, for those that don't know, Ken Roscoe, he was a nutritionist, and we were kind of a team. We call ourselves Team Food Tech. There was an incredible bunch of guys.
Awesome. Those were the days, weren't
absolutely,
they?
Yeah.
100%.
Every time we get together, we're reminiscing about the good old days. But there was myself, me and you, Dave Titterton, Danny Welburn, Max O'Connor, Drew Walker, Andy Pickering, Cade. Yeah. There was just a bunch of others, and so many guys in there. It was just an incredible environment to be part of. Yeah, absolutely. Like we would all head down to Good Bodies in Retford where you train, and obviously Dan's gym down there, and we'd get together, we'd train, and we'd eat together, we'd motivate each other. Absolutely, But did that, being part of that environment, really help to kind of push you on to that next level?
Massively. And I've always said this to Ken, it's such a shame that, obviously we all grow up and we all do different things, retirement and whatever, but it's a shame we lost that, because I feel like that was a winning formula for all of us. I think having that support network, although you step on stage as a bodybuilder, you're on your own up there, you still need that support, even if it's with your wife, like a partner, and having that network of people, and you can feed off them. And if you're struggling, and anyone who's competed for a show, you always have, it's not plain sailing. You always start to doubt yourself, and you're fat, you're thin, you're not muscle enough, all this kind of stuff. So to have that team around us all the time. Ken wasn't the best at that, was he? I've got to admit, he was an amazing nutritionist, but he just used to go, yeah, you're all right. Like, it never like really bull you up. And it's kind of good because we needed that. Because if someone's just blowing smoke up your ass, then you're going to go up there fluffy and not put the work in. But to have everyone around us just to keep picking us up. And when we used to come watch you at the Universe at Southport, and used to look around everyone in the food tech t-shirt. It was amazing to say I'm a part of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, just being, even though some of us were in the same class and competing against each other and that lot, I mean, what Ken did was help to create, multiple Universe winners. Yourself has gone on to, superstardom, world champions, British champions. We would essentially go to shows and we'd just clean up, every single time. It was, but I think that, like you say, obviously Ken's advice and nutrition advice and that lot, but the fact that you wanted, it's that competitive sort of environment that, if I'm training and I've got Danny Wellburn there that I'm going to be on stage again.
Yeah.
Says, we're friends, we're friendly rivalry, but we want to keep pushing it.
Exactly.
I think that having that actually helped us all get so much better.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about your first season in men's physique.
Yeah.
What expectations did you have of yourself going into the show? Obviously, I know you went in and you did, you literally cleaned up that first season, but was that in your mind that that's what you were going to do, or were you just like, just want to kind of see where the land lies? And
yeah, I've never been brought up like that. So I've always, if I'm going for something, I never want to just make the numbers up. If I'm going into a show, I need to know, or I want to have that first place. And Ken was very much of the understanding, like, don't get your hopes up, because he knew my potential, but at the same time, he knew the sad truth of like the politics side of it, going over to America and not being a face over there. Obviously UK based, you've not done the rounds, so to speak. So he was great at grounding me, and I won't say no, he was great at grounding me, but in the back of my head, and him as well, because he wouldn't have pushed me the way he did if we didn't think we could like do some damage over there. And when we went into the Olympia that year, you were there, everyone was there, weren't they? Yeah. That's just, again, what team did that, where in Vegas, everyone came out with their other halves and stuff and supported. And it was phenomenal when coming out, stepping on that Olympia stage and just hearing everyone shouting, all the food tech in the group, you could see all the blue t-shirts. But yeah, as soon as I knew, I was like, right, I'm here now. I've done everything I can. I've got nothing to lose. No one expects anything. Again, I'm the underdog, which I was saying I preferred. And there was 3 guys at the time. They were the poster boys for men's physique. It was the first year. They were very well established in America. They'd done all the shows that year. So for me to like get in amongst them, that's all we'd set out to do. And that was what we did. So we got in the top 4 in the first year. And then ever since then, it was like, right, now every show we do has to be an improvement from the next one. We never just picked a random show and went and did that. We weren't like glory hunting. It was more, every show we did, we'd do like a pro show, but then the next pro show would have to have more, either point system of a higher...
You were strategically competing. It wasn't just a case of we'll rock up at that one, we'll take that trophy, we'll rock up at that one, we'll take that trophy. There's an actual vision of where you wanted to be, and so you were strategically picking them shows to take you to where to be. Yeah,
so we did like Miami and Atlanta because they were like base shows. They were get your name out there, be seen with the right judges, all that kind of stuff, be seen on the West Coast and the East Coast, you both. So there was a strategic plan there. From there, we went then for Pittsburgh and New York because Pittsburgh was Jim Mannion's show. It's a very, very prestigious show. One of the highest points you can score there. Went on to do that show. Once we'd won that show, the next tier show is the Arnold Classic, the Pro Arnold Classic in Ohio. Went on to win that. The next show is the Olympia to win that. So when I placed 4th in the Olympia, it was like, right, we need to beat that place in. So the next year we went for 2nd. So all I put in my vision board and what I visualized was to beat 4th place. And in my head, I thought, longevity, we can make a story of this. I'm going to win that title. We need to make a story of it. So the next year was 2. And then I was like, right, it's time to win it 3rd year. And unfortunately, I've been stuck there since for the last 4 years.
That must be some whirlwind then, from going from literally your first men's physique qualifier to 2 years later being stood on the Olympia stage in
Crazy.
Vegas at the absolute pinnacle of bodybuilding. I mean, like, you know, most people, anyone that does bodybuilding,
Yeah.
going to dream about getting there. And there you were 2 years into your men's physique journey, you were on that stage.
It was unbelievable as well, because at the time, I was going off track a little bit. My sister was getting married in 2013, and I was a week out from the Arnold Classic, but I had to go to Kos, 2 weeks all-inclusive, with 50 young people who were literally just getting pissed every day, smashing all this all-inclusive. And I had to stay on diet, obviously, stay on prep, because I was a week out from the Arnold Classic. And it was really testing, but there was nothing going to stand in the way, because I had that vision, and everyone's going, you're crazy. I even took my George Foreman to an all-inclusive, and I was going back to the room cooking my own food, which is ludicrous. But that determination, that discipline was what won me that title in the Arnold Classic. After that, when I went over to America, I turned pro, and I was like, right, I'm going to go straight into the first pro show. We're going to do it in LA. I've never been to LA. I want to do Venice Beach, Gold's Gym. And we got a rude awakening. Me and Ken got over there quite excited. We come off the back of a big win at the Arnold Classic, and I came dead last. They didn't even call me out. They even put the Masters in with us, and they got called out, and I never even got called out. And there were people booing in the audience, feeling sorry for me. They didn't know who I was, but I think they felt sorry for me because they never even called me out. And I went to see the head judge after, because I was leaving, and this guy said, don't leave, go and speak why they didn't call you out. And people come and shake me out of sympathy. It was a bit embarrassing, really. But I went and spoke to him, and he just looked me up and down. He went, we just don't want this over here. It just doesn't work. I was like, what, me or my physique? And normally, if someone had said that outside of my career, I'd have lamped him one. But at the time I was that distraught, and I thought, I've got to be professional because USN are watching and all this. I walked away, and me and Ken was in In-N-Out Burger, and I was a bit, I was mortified. I was gutted, and we just said, right, and he was trying to console me the best way he could, and I thought it was all over. Flew home, and I went with my brother to a treehouse experience, and I said, it's done, I'm done now. It's I've had a good run, and I'm done with it. And then he just gave me this speech saying, when have you ever give up on something from one person say so? Or it just wasn't the right show for you. And he didn't know anything about bodybuilding, but he was really. I thought, you know what, you're right. And step back pick myself up. A couple of months later, step back on stage, and then 6 months later, I was at the Olympia.
So what was it that he didn't like?
Don't know. He just says, this doesn't work over here. So whether he meant my posing, my physique, whether I was from the UK, I don't know. And the funny thing is that same guy messaged me 2 years later, said, we'd love you to compete at our shows. You have a fantastic physique. And because I'd won the Arnold Classic by then, I was second in the world. And I just thought, I never even replied. And I thought, you don't remember that conversation you had with what doesn't work over here. So, it's funny how things turn out.
Mate. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, obviously, we spoke about the power of environment and being around, like you say, the guys in food tech and that we drove each other on. But it looks like when you're on stage, it's a very individual sport. It's you up there, but the importance of having a team behind you. Obviously, Amy, your wife, is huge. Support, Ken and other coaches that you've worked with and stuff like this. Dan, training partners, people like that. What role do they play in your success?
Like you say, you never ever. You're human at the end of the day. Everyone's human, aren't they? So you're always going to have those down points. And when you're up on your high, they're there celebrating with you and enjoying that process. But at the same time, they're there to pick you up when you are struggling. Like injuries, for instance. I've been riddled with injuries for the last few years, and it's been really hard. But having that team around me to pick me up and to keep me level-headed is invaluable. And I spoke to Jay Cutler. We've had loads of conversations about this, and I always said, why did you retire when you did? When did you think it was enough? And it wasn't because he'd won enough and he'd had enough, that was it. It was because he lost his winning formula. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And it was his team, basically. He'd split up with his wife. His wife was very supportive, cooked all his food, did a lot for him, and he just didn't have that drive anymore because he didn't have the support and network around him. I'm not saying that's why he retired, but that was a big fundamental part, and it made me realise how important that network is. Like you say, you're up there on your own, but the hours and the years that people have put into you as well. And having a coach like Ken, we worked together for 12 years, 13 years before he retired, and all my wins and everything, I was on the phone to him every other day and stuff, but it was, he always, kept me where I did. I tried to go with another coach, like you mentioned, when he retired, but we just didn't have that because we didn't have that connection like myself and Ken did. And working with a coach, you have to, it takes years, doesn't it? Like to know your body, to understand your body and how you work and your mindset and stuff. And yeah, I don't think I've ever had that since Ken.
Yeah. No, and that's it. It's like, obviously it's very, very selfish sport at times. I know that when, through my 20s, I had no kids. I had one gym at the time, which I hardly worked
easier.
at. Do you know what I mean? So it was just kind of ticking over itself.
Yeah.
And, I could eat when I wanted and sleep when I wanted. I remember just like going home watching like random American sports on the ESPN on the afternoon.
Those were the days.
Absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll have a little nap and I'll go and train again. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and that allowed me to kind of really, elevate myself way past where I should have really ever achieved. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, different situation now. I'm more focused on business. I've got 2 kids, and it's like, them days of lying on the sofa all afternoon and watching random sports.
And you take them for granted, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
That's so true.
So obviously, you've got a young'un now. Very different competing when you've got a son as opposed to when you just had no responsibilities, essentially.
Yeah, worlds apart. Like I said, I did take those days for granted as well. I was similar to you. I used to do my cardio, then go back to bed and have 2 hours before I trained again. And it was phenomenal. It was brilliant. And I remember when I had Alfie, it was through the lockdown and stuff. And I had to go over to America, so for the Olympia. And I had to go to Dubai for 3 weeks. And then to America for 2 weeks. So I was away for like 5 weeks, and it absolutely killed me because I don't ever want to be a bad dad. That's more important. Being a dad is more important to me than winning a title now. So I could see myself thinking, I'm being away, I'm missing him growing up, and this isn't the life I want anymore. I've had a brilliant life, and so I was more focused on him than I was competing and stuff. And he wasn't sleeping, he had COVID. So we were really struggling to get even 2-3 hours sleep, which, rest is the most important part of bodybuilding is recovery. I was finding myself like trying to cram all my meals in at 10 o'clock at night because I'd missed 3 meals, and I was trying to do my cardio at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And it was just horrendous. And I remember that was my worst placing at the Olympia because I'd just not got that routine right. And again, when I was away, I was seeing him on FaceTime and he was changing, and you shouldn't be away at that time of his life. And I knew it was to put bread on the table for him and to earn money to keep him solid. But at the same time, I was like, I shouldn't be away from him. And all I was thinking the whole time was we've got 4 weeks, 6 days until I fly back, not 4 weeks and 5 days till the Olympia. And it showed you can't go in with that mindset to the Olympia. And that's when I dropped from, I think it was 3rd to 8th place. And I was retired, I was done, because I thought I'm not going to be a bad dad. And that was me done. But as he's got older and we got into that routine, it was an excuse. I was hiding behind it. If you want something bad enough, you'll go out and do it no matter what. You just have to find that routine and you have to make it work. And I'm now, touch wood, I've got 4 businesses. Obviously, Alfie, we're looking to hopefully expand the family, have another one soon. And my last placing at the Arnold Classic last year, whereas I prepped with a family and stuff, as long as Amy, again, she was a massive support for me. She was phenomenal. She took Alfie when she needed to, and she was brilliant. That was the best I ever looked and the best I ever felt. So I think, people hide behind that, and you can do it. It's just gone are the days where you have your power naps when you want them.
I think it all starts in your head, because bodybuilding is as much a mental game as it is a physical game, you know, and if your mindset's not in the right place, you can forget about, achieving what you essentially can achieve, even though you feel like you're putting the work in the gym and stuff like this. If your head's not in that right place, 100%. It's just not going to happen.
100%. And there's only, I'd say, I've been fortunate, there's only 2 times in my career I've had that where my mindset's just been off, and I've trying to train through it, trying to work through it, trying to just block it out. And both times are my worst placings. And so, 100% your mindset is so important. Yeah.
And I suppose, again, it goes back to if the environment's right, your mindset's good, and they all kind of interlink a little bit. So, last time you did the Arnold then, so obviously you did the Arnold, you had your son there, but you also had no coach at that point. So you'd gone through having somebody in your corner there. And I know Ken came back to kind of just give you a little bit of extra pair of eyes a couple of times, but like essentially you did the work on your own.
On my own,
and arguably your best luck to date, winning the Arnold Classic in the UK. What made you kind of think I'm going to go do this on my own?
So it came a point. So like we were talking about when we're transitioning, and obviously I've set businesses up now, and I never wanted to be. You see on social media a lot, like someone will do a show and then they're a coach the next day, and they've been training less than a year, and they're this guru of coaching. And I never wanted to be able, like to go into the coaching role, which I always wanted to do until I got the experience behind me and stuff. So, like I say, I've been training over 20 years now. I've been competing over 10 years, and I wanted to try and learn everything and learn absorb everything from everybody before I then start to implement it and go into coaching myself. So when last year, the Arnold Classic was going to be my last show, that was going to be, I started in the UK as an amateur. I haven't competed in the UK for 10 years, and I was going to end in the UK in front of my friends' family, and do my first ever pro show in the UK after 10 years. And I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I didn't want to hide behind anyone. I didn't want any excuses why this didn't work or not. I wanted to be accountable fully to myself, and to prove that I can prep. And as I'm getting older, my metabolism's changing, and you have to factor that in. So that was what I wanted to do. So going into the coaching, which I'm doing now, I wanted to prove that I could and show the world that I know what I'm doing, rather than just then post
just
about
following
it.
Following some other ones.
So I did. And there was always certain things that I wanted to try in the past, but you never go against your coach. So you trust your coach implicitly, or whether it would, or otherwise it wouldn't work. And I just wanted to try a few things, because I've always felt like a week out from a show. I don't know about yourself, but I know you're obviously bodybuilders are more. Well, we're all the same, like fatigued and dry and flat a week out. But I always wanted to try something I never dared to do, because after a week out, I'd always felt like this is how I want to look, just slightly fuller, but this is how I want to look. And when we used to go in, we always used to do kind of like a bodybuilding peak week, like really hardcore, like deplete down. So 0 carbs for 3 days, and then 800 to 1,000 grams of carbs for 3 days. And my metabolism was so quick, I could never really fill back up. And then we'd mess around with a bit of sodium, we'd deplete in water, and then water load, and then deplete. And I just thought, why do we need to do all this? Can we not just coast in and look exactly how I want to look like a week out? And that's what I did at the Arnold. So I kept my food exactly the same. Even on the day, I still had my porridge, my water, and everything like that as normal. Soy sauce, I've always had soy sauce every meal, because what I used to do is like sodium low, so I have high salt or high soy sauce from 12 weeks out, and then if I dropped it for a day, it really used to dry me out naturally quite quickly. So I was doing that, but then I thought, why take it out? Because I like the way I look this morning. So I left it all in, left my water in, left everything normal, and best I've ever pumped up backstage, the best I've ever felt on stage, the fullness. I held it for longer, and I just thought, sometimes you don't need to do anything. Why change something when you don't need to? And that's, it worked.
And you felt a lot better running into the show.
Oh, brilliant, yeah. And it was weird because I don't know what it was. I don't know whether, because like you say, the winning formula was there again, that Amy was very supportive. I was back in my home gym, and just everything worked. And the injuries went. I think, like I say, the mindset was right. I had every belief in myself, like going out on top in the UK, that my injuries felt like I was back in my first year of training again. And that was the reason why I wanted to retire, because I'm always in pain, with injuries. And I was like, well, if these injuries have gone now, I can carry on. And that's why I'm here now.
Yeah. So it was quite an easy prep for essentially what ended up being your best look.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I function better when I'm dieting. Like a lot of bodybuilders say, like they get like mind fog, brain fog, all that kind of stuff. But I seem to have better structure, because my food and all that kind of stuff is all structured.
I'm 100% the same, mate. Yeah. Because I just find it, you got that routine. Yeah. You get up at the same time. You eat the meals at the same time. Everything's so, like you say, structured and regimented. Yeah. And I believe that kind of like leaks into other areas of your life, If I look at like the things that I've achieved outside of bodybuilding within that diet phase, I always end up doing more with business or whatever 100%. It is, because I'm almost like very robotic. It's like I'm eating it, I'm fueled up, you're putting nothing but good quality foods into you, you're energized, you're doing your cardio more, you're feeling fitter, and like I say, that goes into
so is that what you've taken from bodybuilding now then into your business then? So you're still that structured within your business? Yeah,
I think it's super important to have that sort of daily routine and, like I say, non-negotiables that have got to be in there every single day. I've done it where I've just kind of eaten what I wanted when I wanted, and all that leads to is feeling sluggish and lethargic, and then that means that you're not performing the best in the gym.
Agreed.
You're not performing the best in your business. You're not performing the best with your family. So definitely taking care of, even don't have to be a strict, calorie deficit really. Sort of diet, but just having that structure in place massively helps, I think.
My name's Colin Wiseman. I'm on week 11 of the Transformation Programme with Stuart Garrington. Been tough. It's the good type of tough that when you realise all your mistakes the previous year of eating too much and drinking too much.
I'd just say whatever your goals are, it gets you there. I set out with this as a 12-week programme, and like I say, I plateaued for 10 months, and within 3 weeks, I beat my expectations.
I've had to have surgery during the programme, but we've not changed anything. We've just changed the programming slightly. It's been great all the way through it, so yeah, I'd recommend him 100%.
It's one of these things, I think, if you give it a chance and have a bit of self-discipline. I'm into the 5th week now, and I literally feel the best I have done in years, to be honest.
So that was, like you said, the easiest prep essentially that you've been through. What was the toughest prep that you've been through mentally?
I think it's the one we just touched on, which was the last Olympia showing, and
When
that's
you had to
why,
go away.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't compete last year. Everyone was like, "You've done 6 years on the trot. You've qualified for the biggest show in the world 6 years on the trot." It's like, why would you tarnish that record? Keep going, I said, the thing is, I've lost the love for the Olympia because of that last showing, and I hated every minute of it. I hated being away from him, and you can't have that mindset going into the best show in the world because you're going against people who are genetically just as good as you, and if you're not putting the work in that mindset, it's not there, they're going to wipe the floor with you. And I was thinking, I'm just going to tarnish what I've spent so long trying to achieve, and my legacy, or whatever, so to speak, to then just ruin it from not putting 100% into it. So I had a year out, and then I was going to say finish on the Arnold, and I was done. And just that feeling of doing that Arnold Classic prep again, everything came rushing back to me. I was like, this is what I did bodybuilding for. There was no pressure on me. There was no expectation because I just placed horrendously in the Olympia. I came 8th, and it was just, for me, no one's watching me, and I could just be me. I could just trial things. I could just do what I wanted, have my family there supporting me and stuff. And that's what I kind of want to do this year. People aren't really talking about me this year, which is absolutely fine. There's no need for them to talk about me because there's some big names, new names in the Olympia, creating massive waves over there.
So it puts you back in that underdog position, which you really like to be.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I want to be. I want to go in and do it for me this time. Like I say, I'm going to prep myself again. If Ken's there at the end, just to say it. And the only thing the last Arnold, so say he had keep an eye on me. He turned up one day. He was off fluke. I'd not asked him to come, but he was at the gym, and he saw me there. I said, Ken, will you just have a quick look at me, just see? And Ken's the best for this. He doesn't mess around, does he? He doesn't start sugarcoating stuff. But I hit this double bicep, and he just grabbed the lower part of my back. What's that, lad? What's that? I was like, oh shit. Because I had people around me blowing smoke at me. I was saying, yeah, you look great, you look phenomenal. But
that is so important though. I know you've got to, like you say, he doesn't bull you up, but when you do get a compliment from him, you're I must be ready. So that's what you want essentially, because I think once you're up on stage, the judges aren't going to be oh, well, he's tried that. Do you know what I mean? It's no, who's got the best physique? Do you know what I mean? And it's I always found that to be so invaluable, do you know, that he would just be straight to the point, didn't give a shit if you hurt your feelings. This is what the situation is. This is what you need to do. 100%. Go fucking do it.
100%. Yeah.
So, and like you say, I think that's essentially why so many of us did so well. No bullshit environment.
100%.
Yeah, cool. So, rivals in the sport, mate. I had, people like Dave Titterton.
I was going to say, I didn't know you were going to mention him.
Dave, Danny Wellburn, and Mark Getty, Harding, Lucas. There's some great bodybuilders around him.
Lucas Gabrius.
Yeah. So, and they motivated the hell out of me. I would do my, Dave was the guy that I never beat. I went up against him multiple times. But when I was doing my cardio and I'm out walking the streets, I sometimes drift off and I'd be visualising stuff, and it'd be me beating him on stage. So it'd be us two stood on stage, and it never happened. But I managed to beat everybody else because I was focused on him. He was the top dog, right? But
do you think that's a good thing then? Sorry to interrupt, I know you're going to ask me a question, but do you think, did you focus on, obviously you beat them all, so it obviously worked in your favour, but I did it once my mindset is I cut everybody out. It's me against me. And people always say, yes, you fighting, you on stage, all these like corny things. But it actually was. It always has been that, because on social media, they're only going to show their best lighting, best this, best, and they can really get in your head. So from the early days, I remember unfollowing, and I spoke to them about it. I said, look, it's nothing against you, because I know people get really mad if you unfollow people nowadays on social media. But I just said, I've got to focus and put all my energy into me, because me giving my energy to you serves no purpose. They're not going to benefit from it, or they are, because I'm going to mess myself. I'm not going to benefit from it. And I did that, and it always worked in my favour. There was one time when I was second in the world. I was Arnold Classic champion. I'd moved to America. I was the next Mr. Olympia. So it was like the whole bullying me up all the way in. And I started focusing on Jeremy. I don't know why, because it was against me and him, essentially. That's what it was, all focused on me and him. And I remember he put this picture up, and it was this most muscular, vascular everywhere. And I just homed in on him, and I panicked because I gave him all my energy. I then started carbing up early, because I was like, I need more fullness, because he's massive. I'm never going to beat him. And he came in as the same as he always does. I came in like a sack of shit, because I'd focused on it, but it was because he was obviously a good pump that day, dried out, whatever it was. And I just vowed to myself I'd never do that again.
Like I say, people don't put shit pictures on social media. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you say, the lighting's right, the angle's right, everything's good.
Yeah.
You know, I used to look at people that I was competing against. I wouldn't put anything on.
Yes.
All right. And the reason that I did that is because I remember, and I've told this story before on another podcast, but Lee Harding, he put something on
Lee
one
Harding,
day. He was incredible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got 6 weeks to go. Wow, he's way ahead.
Yeah.
And literally, I was like 10 o'clock at night or whatever, and I was excited. I go to bed, I'm excited to get up and do my cardio.
Yeah.
It just motivated the hell out of me. And, it just helped to push me on to, and I'd say, sometimes Danny, when he put the odd picture on, I need to up my game a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? So
it always worked in your favour.
Yeah, I managed to make it work in my favour.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't really post anything myself during the days.
But the thing is, in the early days, we were allowed to do that. So this is something I've always battled with. And even on this prep at the minute with Gymshark, where I've always been similar to you, where I don't want to put anything out, and I want to keep myself to, I want to be the underdog. I don't want to start putting my name in the hat. I want my physique to do the talking on the stage. No one needs to see what I'm doing. And Ken always loved that about me as well. He liked that. So it was always in hoodies. But it got to a point where the higher you go, the higher your status is, you have to be seen. And there is say politics, but there is another side to the bodybuilding, especially when you're in the Olympians, where you have to create this story, you have to create buzz. And even Gymshark, they messaged me a couple of weeks ago, like, you're starting your Olympia prep, like, will you on this prep wear vests? Will you do physique updates from 16 weeks out? That's just not me. And I tried it last week. Tried training in a vest. I hated it. And my training partner is going, what's wrong with you? You can't get in it. I just don't want to train in a vest. I like training in baggy t-shirts or hoodies and stuff. Just always, I don't know what it is. It's not like I don't like what I look like. I don't need to see that. I just need to be in my head and focus on the rep and stuff. So it's really hard, because Ken always just say, why are you putting all these pictures out? People are sending me these pictures of you. Because like people, you say, oh, Ryan's looking good, and sending pictures of what, because he wasn't never on social media, was it? Yeah. I was like, Ken, I have to. Like, it's horrible, but they're making me do it. So it's
like you say, I suppose it becomes, once you get to a certain level, it's business.
It's business, of course it is.
And they want to kind of, people are interested.
Yeah, and they want to capitalise on it.
People follow your YouTube like they do, and your social medias like they do. They want to see what you're up to, and there's that trade-off, isn't there, because that's what's essentially helping you to grow your income and businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's a trade-off that you don't always get that privacy or that that sort of trading like you used to be able to.
So my videographer said to me this week, he went, Ryan, we're not going to go through that. I don't want you to do, because he knew I'd lost my head with this training session. I still train hard and everything, but it just weren't my normal self. He said, right, so we're going to have to fathom something out how we can do this. And we basically came to the conclusion that on the last set of every exercise, I'll just quickly take my top off, do one set and put it back on and train. So that's kind of where we're at now.
You can film it for a few different angles.
You've got one set to get every angle you got.
Yeah. You got 3 reps, put your cap on backwards. Set, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. So, let's go into your habits and routines. So now would be classed as an off season for you right now. Have you not started to prep yet, or have you just started?
Well, yeah. I start next Monday, 16 weeks. Yeah.
So what does a typical like off season day look like? You know, is it that much different from a prep day? I've just from speaking to other guys, the real top level guys, there's not really that much difference between how they eat and how they act in the off season to how they are when it's prep time. You know, like a lot of the amateur guys. It will be going from, you know, crazy off-season binges and huge cheat meals to like literally starving themselves for 12, 16 weeks. Yeah. And, you know, there's such a big disparity there, whereas the top level guys seem to be at a level with just small tweaks made as they go. Is that the sort of approach you take? Yeah,
for me, because obviously with men's physique, it was never about the size game. It is now, but back in the day, it worked perfect for me because you could stay lean all year. It wasn't about growing muscle tissue. It was about staying lean all year and having that attainable look. So you could live the lifestyle essentially of this healthy guy who steps off stage, steps on a magazine cover the next day, and it worked. Doing these promotions and doing all these events, lean all year was great. And that's how my food fitted in quite well. We just had the same food most of the year. As the divisions evolved, things have had to change because the size game is a big point now in men's physique. They're huge. They're absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's changed a lot, hasn't it, from the early days?
Unbelievable, yeah. So I've had to start having off seasons, which again, I didn't get into fitness for that because I liked being lean and it was all about the confidence thing when I was younger. So to then start trying to put body fat on and to lose my abs essentially was hard. And I've always battled with that. And I enjoy, like you say, my routine of my meals. I enjoy what I eat and stuff like that. So it was basically the same meals, just bigger portion sizes, more fats, more carbs in it. But it wasn't working. Like I was still staying the same, staying lean because my metabolism was so used to that food. Just because I was introducing more, I was bloated for half an hour, but it never really made a difference on the weight scale or anything. It was only when I started introducing, I don't want to say bad foods because it's not bad food, is it? It's just more calorific meals off plan, was when my weight started to creep up. And that's kind of what I do now. So 80% my normal meals, and then 20% if I want to put cheese, sauce, anything on that just to enjoy that meal a bit more and add the calories. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. And so obviously, I mean, you can go to Ryan's YouTube and watch. There's plenty of videos on the full day of eating and stuff like this, and you know, you got some great content that goes on there. But what what does a normal day of eating look like for you?
Yeah, so I have 2 fillet steaks a day. I have 2 salmon fillets a day. I have 4 chicken breasts a day, and 4 eggs, 4 whole eggs. I've never been a guy who has 10 egg whites and one whole egg. I think it's wasteful. Yeah. Get the full eggs in. Ken always used to say that to me. Don't waste them eggs. So yeah, the full eggs. Like oats, white rice, white potato. I've got a really varied diet. I've veg, my greens in the morning. It's all very structured. And there's lots of it. I have antioxidants through blueberries, like fruits, bananas. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, cool, good stuff. And when it comes to things like your goal setting, obviously you're going to be setting goals for your physique and your competing and your training, and also for business. Like, do you actually have a goal setting process? Do you have kind of sit down and say, right, I'm going to set like, you know, obviously like a big yearly target or like working 3-month blocks and stuff like this? How do you kind of work that? Yeah,
so this is the part where it's probably been my, I'd say, kryptonite or my failure in bodybuilding. I always lacked structure when it came to that, you know, that goal setting, all right, and my off season, because maybe subconsciously, because I didn't want to put weight on and I didn't want to lose my physique or condition, that I always used to sabotage myself. So I'd never I'd lose my appetite or it never happened. So I kind of went away from that towards the end and just started, when I obviously got married and I had kids and stuff, I just made it fit into our lifestyle. So I knew I was always in a surplus. So on my off season, I kind of just switch off. I know what my maintenance level is and what anything that's in a surplus is I'm happy with. So I don't go on mass bulks anymore. I don't like start forcing food in when I can't, anything like that. I just kind of make sure I'm in a surplus of calories for what I need to do. It's only when I start on prep is every calorie counts, everything is measured and set out, because I just want to give the rest of my time to my wife and to my kids and to my business and so on, focus and that structure on my business. So although my meals are there, they're the same, they're just not weighed out and measured to the gram. Yeah. Whereas when I flip the switch and it's right, now it's prep time, 16 weeks is regimented.
So you had lots of surreal moments, I imagine, through your career. You know, like obviously, like you say, going from a plumber to, you know, stood on the Mr. Olympia stage, and like you obviously, like you said, we said at the start that you've been on over 40, you're probably more by now, international fitness magazine covers. Like, how did that feel when you first saw yourself on the front cover of a magazine?
That was something. It was surreal, and it still is surreal now. Like, I've got a wall in my office of him, and when people come in, I was like, yeah, you're right. It's surreal, like, you know, these front covers. But at the time, again, when this became a career for me. Men's Physique wasn't about bodybuilding, wasn't like classic bodybuilding, wasn't a thing. So I was like, what can I do to have this competitive? And I need to drive towards something. I need to focus on something. But there wasn't Men's Physique or competing at the time. So it was like, right, no one from the UK has got a front cover on Muscle and Fitness, because they always, even the UK edition was always used by the American models. They were always set out for the year. From all the covers were set out for the year, and they were always American models. So I was like, hey, what can I do? I want to focus on getting a front cover, because that's something no one's done before. So I met John Plummer, who was the chief editor of Muscle and Fitness, and I said, what's it going to take for me to get on that cover? And he was like, I don't think it's going to happen, Ryan, really, honestly, because it is all from America and stuff. But we'd love to do articles with you every month. Like, we'd pay you to be a writer and do articles. So I was like, you know what? Here's the deal, like, and I don't know why I said it, because I could have done with the money at the time. I said, don't pay me for the articles, I'll do the articles, but if that opportunity ever comes up where a cover's not going to happen, can I be that guy who comes on the front cover? And he was like, yeah, but we'd rather pay you, because we don't know if that's ever going to happen, and it could be a long time and stuff. But there was just something telling me to do it, and I don't know why. So we set to work. I was doing these articles every month, and I was travelling up and down the country doing these photo shoots, and I wasn't even getting paid for them and stuff. With Kevin Horton, do you remember Kevin Horton? So I was doing all these shoots, and it was coming after 6 months. I was thinking, this is not good. This is actually costing me a lot of money and time, and it's not working. And then all of a sudden, he rang me and said, Ryan, you're not going to believe this, but we need a front cover, and you're going to be it. And I was like, and he said, you've got 4 days to get ready. So I was like, Ken, I've got 4 days. I need to get ready. And I shot down to London. And the moment I got that cover, everything changed, because I was more valuable to my sponsors and to other sponsors, because I was a front cover model then. I was the first guy to do it in over 10 years from the UK to be on the front cover of an American muscle and fitness magazine. So again, it gave me an avenue into America, because I was featured in America. And yeah, I started getting paid for that then as well. And then, yeah, the rest was history. So
I think that's a great lesson for anyone that's like maybe starting up their own business and stuff like that, because you do have to put the work in for free a lot of the time when you're starting up, and I'm sure you still do that now with the companies that you're starting. You don't go straight into making crazy profits on day one. You know, it starts with the groundwork. It starts with doing the stuff for free.
100%.
It starts with having just a lot of faith that this is going to actually
pay off.
Exactly. Yeah. So and like you say, you've obviously taken that lesson and pushed it into stuff that you're doing now.
I don't know if you know this now, I don't know if you feel the same, but like, and I'm not stereotyping everybody in the new generation, but it just feels like the people coming through now, they don't want to put that work ethic in. Like, I've been to a few photo shoots, I'm not going to name names or anything like that, of late, where you was always taught to be, if you're on set at 9 o'clock, you'd be there for 8:30, 8:15, so you're ready, aren't you? You know what's happening, you're ready to go. Like, I was turning up at 8:30, and these guys weren't turning up to 12:30. Big YouTube stars, like phenomenons and big money, and very young guys weren't turning up to 12:30, 1 o'clock. So they decided to stay up all night, like watching TV. And I was like, for me, like, that's just the worst. Like, and it's happened so many times now. They don't like appreciate what they've got, that opportunity that they've got.
And I think that's fine while they're doing what they're doing, because they're getting away with it because they're YouTube star. But at some point, it's going to end. Yeah. And if you take that attitude and carry that on into other aspects of business or other aspects of life, you're going to come up short.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like you have that pull now because you've got X amount of followers, but at some point, new people are going to come through, and they're not going to give a fuck about you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So in your old news, you know,
exactly.
And what do you do if that's your attitude that you've just ingrained into yourself for years? Yeah, you know, that's you're going to be on the way down sharpish. Absolutely, yeah. So, like you say, one surreal moment there when you've got your first front cover and stuff like this, but you know, also when you go to these expos and you see these lines of fans that are meeting you and stuff like this, and you know, that must be quite like to go from being in the plumbing business to stepping on stage at the O, to, you know, being the front cover model, to having all these people that you've never met in your life. Like, That's like when you're just a plumber back in the early days, you could never really envision that that's going to happen.
Never
so,
in a million years.
like, you know, and how do you kind of smash through them limiting beliefs that you're like, I can actually do this, and you know, I can take this as big as I want it to go.
Yeah, it was for me. Like say, meeting those people in the expos. It's a shame nowadays because social media's taken over so much that it's more profitable for companies now to use social media rather than expos. Well, I used to love expos. Like you're saying, those queues. I used to give every single one of them as much time as I could because like they're queuing 3-4 hours to come and speak to them about their fitness journeys. And I absolutely love talking everything bodybuilding, fitness, all that kind of stuff. So I can speak for hours to these people. It's inspiring to hear how I've inspired them. And like I used to say to them, like, and people used to believe in me. And they used to say, I've set this up because of it. I'm doing a fitness now. A woman, an elderly woman, older woman, I'll say elderly woman, older woman. I remember she was in banking really high up and I met her and I told her, I said, like, if I can do it, because she was like, she wanted to go into fitness, but she was obviously going to take a massive pay cut. She didn't know whether to do it or not. And I was like, look, if I can do it from plumbing, from nothing to doing what I'm doing, I said, why can't you do it? Like, why can anybody not do it? And then I saw her the next year and she'd done it. She had this really successful women's only gym, which she was like online coaching. She was doing phenomenal. And she was like, thank you. And she got tearful and she was like hugging me and stuff. And it's like, they're the stories what keep me going. I'm thinking, right, we can all do it. Anyone can do it if they want. They've just got to put the work in. And that's kind of how I felt all the way through my career. I was like, if I want something bad enough, it's only me stopping me. I've got to put the work in. And that was the same for, I didn't come from a wealthy background or anything. Like we came from nothing really. And I remember thinking if I had this vision of what I want in life. And for me, it was building my dream home, which I've built, but it was mortgage free. So I could be comfortable with my family, never have to worry about bills and all that kind of stuff. And everyone was saying to me before, why are you living in this? Because I used to live in, which I rent out, it's a perfectly fine house, a semi-detached. They're saying, you're this successful guy, why do you live in there? And I was like, because in my head, I've not achieved what I need to achieve. I need a certain amount of money to buy this home I want and this dream home. And that's how I always believed I could do it before I did it. And like at the time I was earning pittance, but I was like, no, I'm having that house and I'm building that house for my family. No matter how I do it, I'm going to get it. And
you said before you touched on there, you had like a vision board and stuff like that. Is that something that you still use now?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Well, not as much now. And I really should. And that's something, from going forward, I really need to do a lot more of. And again, that's just me being lazy with my time and stuff. But in the early days, I was massive on it. So 2013, I had this vision board. I put 4 or 5 points on it. And I put it inside my wardrobe, on the door of my wardrobe, because every morning I used to get my vitamins out of the wardrobe so I could see it, reiterate, and obviously read it, and it sets me up for the day. And I know it's there. I just keep reiterating in my mind. And it was, at the time, I don't know why, because there was nothing set in stone for me to get this, but it was to be an avenue into America, win the Arnold, be the first men's physique from the UK, like British, be the first British champion, financially better off, and to win the Arnold. And at the time, that was at the start of the year. That was before I'd even done my first show, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the year, my videographer said to me, so have you seen your vision board? Because he took a picture of it early on and I'd not opened that for ages. And he wrote it, he pulled it out at the backstage at the British, and all these points, I just won which qualified me to America. And I'd literally ticked off exactly what I needed to.
I think it's super important because, again, it's, you just, like, your mind will find a way to, if you've got a solid goal that you want to achieve, and you know what it is, and you, like you say, you're repetitively looking at that and really drilling it into your subconscious, you will find a way to do it, you know? Like you said, it's not just like this power of manifestation where you think about it just happens automatically, but just by repeating that process and repeating, like say, looking at it every morning when you open your wardrobe, you just automatically sort of like plan that route there, and then again, once you've got that plan, you take the action on it, and you end up achieving it.
Is it something you do? Have you got a vision board?
Do you know what? It's something me and Verity talked about, and it's like we've got certain things that we talk about regularly, things that we want to achieve and stuff like that, and Verity actually bought the pin board, and we've just not got around to putting it up, and that was only a few months ago we did that. It's something that I think is super powerful. Like you say, we talk about things and we've got certain things that we want to achieve, and we keep reiterating, having these conversations and stuff like that.
So my mum did it. I'm going to quickly tell you this story, but my mum did it. So she actually printed off, it was The Secret, but she printed off, they did these money checks, whatever. And she was talking about she needed a certain amount of money, and it was quite a lot of money. It was over 100 grand to pay off the mortgage. And And I was like, right, okay. And she's like, I believe I can get this one. She kept putting it where she put her tea, because she's mad on tea. So where she in the cupboard, she kept putting these checks in. I thought, you're mad. Because this was before I started doing it all. And it's an unfortunate way of how she got it. But yeah, a year on, her dad passed, and she actually won a bit on the lottery. But the both of them combined was exactly what she needed to pay the mortgage, which was on these checks. And it was then I was like, that's absolutely insane. That's thinking there's got to be something to this.
Yeah.
It really has. But yeah, crazy.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? I think, like you say, if you don't have that plan and you don't have that vision,
yes,
how are you going to move towards it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, you said there before, you came from essentially nothing, and you growing up and stuff like this, and you've now got the dream house, and we see you got beautiful house. We watch your YouTube channel and stuff like this, and you made it in America, and you're winning these shows, and you've got multiple businesses, and you're doing so well for yourself. Do you ever kind of struggle to process what's going on sometimes?
Yeah, massively.
And how do you stay grounded, like when the whole world's just going like crazy around you?
I don't know, actually. It's funny you say that, because people always say, like, why have you not gone so big-headed, and why are you not this and that? I don't know. I've just probably got a good, like, say, network around me that if I ever did start to get too cocky or confident, that they'd knock me back down in place. But I don't know. I think maybe coming from those backgrounds, coming from not having a lot and struggling, say I was going to lose the house, and having that low point in my life was probably makes me appreciate everything I've got now even more so. And maybe I am my own worst enemy sometimes, because I never know when to switch off. And because there was a part of my life where I'd worked so hard. I was 18, I bought this house, and every penny I had was renovating it. Everything, I was working till silly o'clock trying to do it. And then to have that nearly taken away from me because I couldn't afford the payments, because I got made redundant. And that fear of having nothing in your bank, like that for me, probably has always pushed me to never want to be like that again, never want to be on the breadline, and never want to be struggling or ever feel the way I felt. So that's probably what's always pushed me on. But Amy, my wife, said to me, there has to be a point where you sit back and enjoy everything you've got and appreciate it. And I do appreciate it, but I always keep thinking, whilst you can, was it make hay while the sun shines?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think just being a bodybuilder, one thing I've taken from bodybuilder is always just wanting a little bit more. So like, I'd go off stage, when the universe go off stage, and I get the pictures back the next day, I'm going, well, I need more of this. I need to do that better. It's like you're in the universe, you just like pull yourself apart. Do you know what I mean? Let's go to the next level. There's always another level. And I think that helps you to keep moving forward. And it's not being greedy as in, like you say, you've got all these great things and that, but you always want a little bit more. And it's like, and
that's human nature, isn't it? Think?
But it's not, like I said, I don't think it's from greed. I just think it's because if you're a driven and motivated person,
want to keep
you
progressing
need
in
that.
life.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know?
That's the same thing when I built that house. Everyone's like, do you think you'll stay there? And in my head, I was like, no, not in a million years, because I need to build something bigger, or not bigger, but better, or keep progressing. And he was like, no, just enjoy it and just be in the moment and stuff. So which
you can still do, but then at the same time, like you say, you've got to have something that's going to get you out of bed. And I suppose, like, when the day comes and you hang up the shorts and you decide to just go all in on business, once that big part of your life has gone away, and that sort of drive to become better with your physique, you've got to channel that into something else.
So this is what I wanted to ask you, actually. So this is something I don't know the answer to, and I've spoke to different athletes, pro athletes, not necessarily in bodybuilding, but in different sports, like pro rugby players and stuff. Like when they've achieved everything and they come into the retirement stage, because obviously I've got to start thinking about that at some point. This is the latter part of my career. It's like, how do you process that? When you've, like, say you're on this high, you're winning the Mr. Universe, and how do you deal with it? I spoke to Eddie about it, and he really struggled with it, but luckily he pushed, Eddie Hall, he pushed himself straight into his YouTube, and he found.
I think there's so many similarities between what we do getting ready for shows and the training and the competing side of things and business. And it's a very easy switch. And it's not a switch that I made straight away. I found myself in limbo for a long time because I think, like, my identity was wrapped up in Stu, the bodybuilder, and it's like, once you kind of step away from that, and I've been back on stage since a couple of times, and I'm not saying I wouldn't go back on stage again at some point, obviously depending on my knee and stuff like this, but, it's not the main focus. It would be a little side hobby sort of thing, whereas before, for 10, 15 years, it was just full focus on every 2 hours. where's my next meal coming from? Where am I getting my protein from in 2 hours' time? Do you know? And it's like that sort of thought process for so many years, and you're just so driven along that sort of path. But I think what you do, and the want to get better, the want to achieve more, you just switch that into business, and it is quite an easy step to make.
Right.
And I think if you've already got things lined up, whereas I didn't really have that much lined up when I kind of won the universe. So, because I was just so all in on the bodybuilding.
You have to be.
That I kind of didn't really think about that. And it was only really, as I came into my 30s, and certainly as we started having kids, that I sort of thought, right, what's next? And what do I need to kind of grow this side of things? But like you say, the skill sets that you learn in bodybuilding and in training, very transferable. So I think if you've already got something in place, and you've got 4 businesses and stuff like that, you just throw yourself into that, it's quite an easy switch, really. It's quite an easy switch, but I just think, like you say, you need to have something. I feel for the guys that don't have anything and put the life and soul into bodybuilding, and they're doing it till they're 40 odd, and then they've got nothing to really show for it, and then once that stops, that must be quite tough. That must be quite tough.
I've always been fearful of it. I'm like, they have to do it at some point, obviously. And that's why, for me, it was lockdown, what made me realise it. And that's when I set a couple of my businesses up in lockdown, because when the pandemic hit and everyone was freezing, like USM froze my contract. I voluntarily froze it, but it made me realise, I was like, all my income is through sponsorship. So if I was to get injured tomorrow, if it was over for me tomorrow, i.e. I'm retired, I've got no income to support my family. And obviously Alfie was sat by me whilst I was thinking all this. I'm like, I need to think about him now. Like, it's not, obviously bodybuilding is a selfish sport, and I was just chasing obviously medals and achievements, but I was like, I need to think past this now and actually grow up. So that's why I started to look into, like I say, properties and investments, and I set him a clothing brand up as well, which is good.
And so is that the shorts?
So that's the board shorts. So Alta is Alfie Lewis Terry Aesthetics. So I just, again, I'm not trying to plead poverty or trying to say I had a bad life, because I didn't. I had a brilliant upbringing. I just wasn't one of these guys who had the best of everything. I got what I needed to. So I was fine with that. But I'd love to be able to give him everything, not he wants, but everything he needs and more. And I thought when he's 18, it'd be ace to not know about it before, but just say to him, look, you've got a fully fledged company here if you want to take it on, and it's yours, whether he wants it or not. But,
and this is one of the things for me, obviously, me and Verity really strive to, do as well as we can and make as much money to give the kids opportunity and security for our family and stuff like that. But one thing that does kind of worry me is you don't want to make your kids like spoiled and like they get 100%. Everything they want. I still want them to have the same work ethic that me and Verity have got, and
100%.
Because otherwise you can leave them all the money in the world, and it's not going to last for 2 seconds.
And it's not going to help them in life, is it? No. I agree with that. And I always said to him, is that we can't spoil him, because like we can give him the stuff he needs or the wants and the privileges and stuff. But then at the same time, like, I don't want it. I want him to appreciate it. Even to the point where we're still and he's in private school at the minute. He's only two next month. But I'm even contemplating bringing him out of it. And the only reason for that is I didn't go to private school, and I did perfectly fine. And I'd like to think I was head smart on the streets and stuff like that. And I'd like to think, and I see some of the people he's with, and he's, in private school, and all these beautiful Bentleys turning up and helicopters landing on the turf outside. I'm like, do I want this for him? Because does he need all this? And is he going to turn into this something?
He goes one way or the other, doesn't it? You give him the best opportunities, the best education.
I know.
But like you say, does it make him become, like, not spoiled, but just like, this is just life. This is how it is. Exactly. And that's not how life is if you don't have that work ethic to match it. Because like you say, it won't last for too long.
100%.
If you don't have that. So I think as well, though, like, one of the things that me and Verity always say is like, the main mentors in, Albert and Savannah's life is us. So hopefully they're going to pick up a lot of what we teach when it comes to the work ethic and all this sort of stuff. So and I think, like you say, one of your main priorities has obviously been a great dad.
100%.
And you'll pass on those qualities to Alfie.
Because the thing for me is, obviously, I learned from my upbringing. My dad, he's not a horrible man at all, but I didn't see my dad for about 11 years, 12 years growing up. So there's a big chunk of my life I didn't have him. And that's why I always said I'd never, even if it's a week, I don't want to be away from him and stuff. And even now, like, he's never really made much effort with my son or anything, but I don't want him to ever feel like that. I want the book to stop with me and to carry on. So we have this close family. Because we didn't really have a close family, to be fair, but seeing Amy's family, how close they are, I strive that and I long for that for him. And that's what I kind of want. So I'm not wrapping him up in cotton wool, but I'm trying to create that now going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I come from a great family, and we're very close and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Verity comes from a horrendous family,
All
you
right.
know. But like, it's made her go the opposite way.
Yeah.
And again,
Same
the
for
book
me.
stops here.
Yeah.
You know, this does not carry on any further. You know, so
Exactly. My brother's done the same. He even went to the extremes of moving down south because his wife now, she's got an amazing, like, really big extended family, huge. There's like 50 of them every year go on holiday for New Year's Eve. Like, it's phenomenal to see, and they're all so close. It's amazing. And he moved away to be, I don't want to say it's the case my family watched it, but away from that toxic environment and to set that family. And their two kids absolutely worship all their cousins. They're so close, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant to see.
Fantastic. So we touched then on, like, say, what you'll do after the competing, and but what you're doing now with your businesses, like one big part of it for you is the social media side of things, your YouTube channel. I really got into it when I snapped my knee last year. And so I kind of completed Netflix, and I was like, what now? Let's go on to YouTube. And I found your channel, and I was aware that people were doing this stuff. I never really sat down and watched it. You know, I'm always too busy. But you know, when I was sat in a leg brace for 12 weeks, and, you know, I got a lot of telly time. So and I found the content they put out was absolute quality, mate. You know, like,
thank you.
Not just the training stuff, but like the real life stuff. You know, like, I find it super interesting to see the full days of eating and you know, what life's like, and obviously following the journey through man cave and stuff like this.
The thing is, it was hard for me to do that, and it's what everyone was asking for, because for so long, especially with USN out, I was really clean cut and professional, and in the early days that was what everybody wanted. It was that poster boy and that, like, Mr. Great Britain. But as, like, YouTube and social media develop, they want to see the other parts of you, don't they? They want to see, like, the real you, like your banter and, like, what you do day to day. And I always struggle with that because, one, I like my privacy, I like my family and have that separation from work. But at the same time, I'm like, does someone really want to watch me building a man cave? Like, that's in my head, and I'm always questioning it. And they're like, people do. People want to watch you on the toilet, if, like, to that degree, don't they? So just go with it.
I'll watch you in an ice bath. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to draw the line at the toilet.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, so I started to do it, and I always dip in and out of YouTube. YouTube's not a channel where you can dip in and out. You have to invest a lot of money, time, and it is hard to grow YouTube. I focus a lot on, and especially when you've got other businesses as well, it's really hard to juggle everything. But yeah, my goal at the minute is to scale my businesses beyond me. And it is difficult, and it's something I'm really struggling with, but we are putting things in place, because that's why I set Alta up. It's not anything to do with Ryan Terry. Alta can scale way above Ryan Terry, and that's what I want it to be. And same for, like, RT Coaching, my coaching service. RT is real training, like, trademarked as real training, but people assume it's Ryan Terry. But I just want all these things to be bigger than me, and that's kind of where I'm at and what I'm trying to focus on at the minute.
Well, that's smart, mate, again, straight away, because, like you say, essentially you want to be able to, at some point, maybe exit them, you know.
Exactly.
And, you know, and like you said, pass that on and make the profit, and the work that you do now, you're going to see the rewards for later down the line. So
exactly,
because, like you say, at some point you're not going to be as relevant as what you certainly are now. So, and like you said, now you've got the big following and stuff like that, but as time goes on, of course, that natural cycle of other people coming through and doing
But I've seen that anyway. Even in the last few years, I've seen that. You know, like the 18-year-olds who literally overnight come in and the phenomenons and stuff, and then you are not as relevant and stuff because you're middle 30s now, nearly middle aged.
I wish I was middle 30s. But yeah, going back to the YouTube and the man cave and stuff like that, you got in there the infrared sauna, the cold plunge. I know that you do, like, the cryotherapy and the massage and the chiropractic, all that sort of stuff. Like, how long have you put an emphasis on rest and recovery? Is it something that you did right from the start? Obviously not at the level that you're doing it now because of the finances, but you know, is that something that you've always took care of, or is it literally only the last few years you've really worried about that? Yeah,
so this is something I wished I'd done from the start, even no matter how much it cost. But I didn't. I was just didn't focus on the recovery at all. I just wanted to lift weight and as heavy as I could and eat what I could and stuff. And and I got a lot of injuries from having that mindset. So it's only been, I say, the last 5 years where I've really, really knuckled down on the recovery. And I have to implement. I have 2 deep tissue massages each week, cold water therapies, like the ice bath most days. Again, it's difficult because I've got nerve damage, so it's brilliant for muscle recovery, but it's terrible for nerve damage because obviously the cold, it's like a toothache. It's quite bad on the. But then the infrared sauna, so you've got the hot and cold therapy, and I focus a lot on that now, and it's helped with longevity. All these injuries I've got now are from past training, so it's keeping everything at bay and trying to be as optimal as I can.
Yeah. So what else do you do for self-care? I know a lot of people that have been very successful do a lot of like meditation and
nails done.
No doubt about it, mate. You sat there with a face mask
Get my
on every
eyebrows
night,
done.
So, but things like the meditation, the journaling, the breath work, stuff like that. Do you do gratitude journaling, all this stuff?
Yeah.
Do you do any of that? Or?
I don't know.
No,
It's this is something like, I don't know if it's down to laziness or something, but anything like that, I've always struggled to really. I start something, like even reading. I know it's ridiculous, but I try to read. I keep buying all these books, like the Wim Hof, and I bought Winning from Tim Grover, and I really want to do it. I can't tell you how much I want to do it, and to educate myself and to get my brain working. The moment I do it, I'm fast asleep within the first.
I'm exactly the same, mate, and that's why I have an Audible account now. Like I've got like shelves and shelves of books, and I'm just not reading them because the only time I get to read them is get into bed, the fit right off after.
But that's the same thing. You associate.
I spend a lot of time in the car,
right?
So obviously I live in York. I've got the gyms in Leeds. I train down in Rotherham sometimes and stuff like this. So I spend a lot of time in the car, or if I'm out going for a walk or something like that. So perfect for me. Just put it on an Audible, and I can consume probably do about a book a month, something like that. Which is not like
it's perfect.
I think like you said, these CEOs that are doing like a book a day and stuff like this, and it's like
crazy.
But for me, that's all right. Because I do listen to a lot of podcasts as well, and stuff like this. So combining them with an audio book a month, and that works well for me. I could never do it. I've got so many that are just literally dust collectors now, and I just
they look good on the book.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
he's a knowledgeable guy.
Great backdrop, But like essentially, like half of them now, I want to read them. Even though I've already bought the book, I'll just put it on an audio book and listen to that.
Yeah, that's something we talked about that a few weeks ago, didn't we? Because you sent me a book to look.
Yes, yeah.
So I do need to get into that because, like I say, I started Winning, and I was really, really wanted to do it before I start my Olympia prep because my mindset that's the only probably, I won't say it's a missing piece, but that's the only thing that can waver sometimes, and it's a massive part. We talked about that earlier. So I was like, I want to do this Winning because it's just about the 0.001 percenters.
Yeah, I've listened to it. I've listened to Relentless and Winning.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's it. Yeah.
But again, just like
audio.
Yeah, and to be honest, sometimes I think it's better on audio because the way that they're actually telling the story, the emphasis on certain parts, and it just. I think it's a lot better. I just take it in a lot more. So.
Right, that's something I need to do. Yeah, because I've always struggled with it. So
I can find myself if I'm reading a book and I'm getting down to the bottom page and I go, what we just read then?
Yeah, that's exactly the same.
I've got to go back to the start and read it again.
So annoying. And then you read it 3 times and you're fast asleep.
Exactly.
Shit, it's the introduction.
Page 2, So I wanted to go back as well to touch on that. I missed over this question before, and I told you I was going to ask you it. We talked about like the lines of fans that were queuing up to meet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the strangest request that you've had from a fan, all right? Because like even me at the little level that I'm at compared to you, I remember being after the Universe, I got this handwritten letter. It was like like an old person writing. I thought, come to the gym, and I thought, this looked at New York Post stamp on it, and I'm thinking it's weird. So I open it up, and it's this little bits of paper like this, and essentially just asking me if he can buy this old bloke wanting to buy my posing chunks from the
That's
from the Universe.
not too bad. I thought it was going to be worse than that.
That's as weird as it goes for me. Yeah. But I'm interested to how weird does it go for you?
I'm trying to think now So I've been approached by quite a few people, and in the early days there was some tempting offers. Like I was thinking, that's good money. That I was still in my plumbing days when I'm thinking, 50 quid, you have to fit a tap on the weekend, an outside tap. And I remember one guy, and he was going to give me the money there and there. He was going to go get it was $12,000. And he wanted to fly me to Hawaii. He was a multi-millionaire, and he had a private island off Hawaii or something, all inclusive. Like he'd pay for everything for this week or whatever. But he wanted me to walk out the sea with a semi on, and he just wanted to take a picture with his own camera. I was thinking, there's more to that story. If I go on that beach, that private island with him, that could have been quite dangerous. But that was one. And he was like, I'll give you the 12,000 now, and then you can just make your mind up. So I was thinking, I was looking at Max at the time. Max O'Connor, you know what he was like? He was like, do it. Just get him off. Just don't go. I was like, I can't do that. So yes, they're strange ones, but I tend not to go into them now because someone was looking through it yesterday. Like, look at all these requests you've got, and there's thousands. But I think you can just lose yourself in it. There's a lot of waste of time in there if you go on.
I remember I was in Brazil for the World Championships in 2011, and I was sat in like a bar. We were having like a burger afterwards and stuff like this after the show with Ender, right? And if you know, Ender.
Yeah.
So, and there was a guy, and he said, "Oh, I've got one of the junior competitors who's from Australia," and he says, "Oh, we've got whatever his name was coming over for a photo shoot." This guy, so we've got this junior coming over for a photo shoot, $500 this photo shoot. I went, oh, nice. He went, why don't you guys come? Just $500, come with a photo shoot. I'm like, what? Just for take some photos?
Yeah.
He's like, well, yeah, just come on, you take your top off and that, like, do some posing, have a wank, that sort of thing. I was like, what? He's like, no, I'm a good time there. So.
Just slip that one in there. I won't. There's some serious creeps out there.
There's some weirdos in that bodybuilding world.
I know. I remember. Do you remember Lauren Ashwell? Remember Lauren?
Yeah.
She was bikini, and I remember at the time, but a few years, it's 2013, 14, but she went, Ryan, have you seen this request? And she looked at it, and it was a guy wanting to buy her implants off her because she'd announced that one was leaking and she has to have them out. So she went, do you think I should do it? I was like, just see, you know what I mean? And she sold them for 300 quid, a leaky implant. When she had them out, she had this leaky implant. She sold it for 300 quid. And then she got into selling her bikinis and stuff off. And she was making good money off that. I was like, does anyone want my Skinners? We've got some boxes here.
Yeah, there's some very strange people in the bodybuilding world.
Crazy.
So like you say, you've got a lot going on, mate. The business, the family, the social media, the competing, the training, the obviously the contests and the meal prep and everything goes along around it. Like, how do you kind of just stay present in that one moment? Because that's something that I definitely struggle with. Is like, if I'm at home sometimes with the family, I could be thinking about work.
Yeah.
Or if I'm training, I'm thinking about, should I be on with the kids and stuff like this. So I always seem to be somewhere else sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of a sort of like tactic or technique for kind of blocking out the noise? I think you've got to start being present if you're going to start achieving things, right? And obviously you're smashing life in so many different areas.
Yeah.
How do you manage to stay present?
So that is something I really struggled with, the same as you. And that was actually becoming between me and Amy, my wife, because we weren't talking to each other and I wasn't telling her everything that's going off in my head and my business and stuff. And all she could see was I was not present when I'm with them two. And yeah, I won't say breakdown or anything, but I was I was stressing. You could see I was stressing. What's going off with you? And I said, if I could tell you what's going off in my head, and it's not even just the businesses. Like, I do a lot from, like with all the running the household as well. I do quite a lot of that. So I've just always wanted to take everything on myself and just do it, because then I know it's being done the way I want it to be done, kind of thing. I don't know. But it was becoming where, like say, I was missing things because I wasn't in the moment. I was thinking of other things. So what we agreed is I'd bring people on and to try and delegate a lot of stuff. And that's only been recently, I'd say since March. So I've brought on a company now called Grow Factor. I brought a social media team on, and it was hard for me, and it's still a lot of work because they're still learning me. So I still have to pass everything off. I still have to give them the content. I still have to give them the structure. But I've got a good team now where I can tell them to do something, and you can go away and be in the moment with your family and know that it's getting done. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's still hard at times. Like we were away in Turkey. We went for a family holiday, our first family holiday since the pandemic. And there were certain times of the day she could see, and she went, are you all right? Because in my head, I'm like, this should have been done. Why is it right? This needs to be. She's like, just go and take yourself off. You're all right for an hour. Just go and do it. And she knows there's certain times I have to do that. It's being your own boss. It's not a 9 to 5, is it? Being your own boss is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's super important that you have to start delegating more, because there's certainly, if you want to scale and grow, there's only so much that you can do on your own. And I think sometimes we think we have to do it because we're the only people that can do it. But the fact of the matter is that there's loads of people out there can do things better than us.
Exactly.
But it's just that control thing, because when you start these things from a baby and you've just essentially essentially, you know, you've got everything you've got from the ground up.
Yes.
It is quite hard to let go of that control.
The one thing that sticks in my head was Albie, the owner of USN, multi-millionaire, very, very successful, very, very hard-working. He's probably one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. And he always said to me, he said, don't be afraid to be the thickest person in the room. And what he meant by that is like, everybody he's got around his table are all better than him in a certain aspect of his business. And he says, it's the only way you're going to grow to be the best or to be better than what your limits. And that was so powerful, because I was like, you're right, because... Yeah,
why would you bring somebody on that's worse than
exactly?
You at it, you know?
And you're not going to be the cleverest guy in business or in finance or in social media planning and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. But again, for me, it's hard at the minute. And again, this is what we're trying to work on, is scaling it past me, because the book still does lie with me. So when I'm not in front of the camera, or if I'm not signing something off, it doesn't get done. And we're trying to work out how, not exit the business, but how I can take a step back and people come in front of it.
Well, as we were saying on just before we got there, you know, myself and James, who works with me, we were on the Tony Robbins Business Mastery, and essentially that's what the you know, they were trying to teach you to do, from becoming a business operator and actually working in the business to becoming a business owner, and kind of sitting back and being the guy that does the strategy and stuff like this. And you know, it's a process, isn't it? You don't just go straight to the top. You have to go through these levels to reach where you want to be.
Yeah, and I've lost a lot of money. I'll be honest, I've lost a hell of a lot of money trying to put that infrastructure in and it not working in the past, and that's what scares me. Like now, the companies I'm working with, I pay a lot of money for them, and it's taken me a long time to get to that because of the amount of money I've lost by investing in people, putting my trust into them, and I'm getting stung massively.
Well, I think that was the book that I actually recommended to you. I think it's called the E-Myth. So if there's anybody there that's got their own business that wants to kind of scale it, that's just a great book for creating a framework of how you can kind of, you know, pull yourself out of the business and into that sort of, you know, CEO seat, so you can just do the strategy, do the controlling, and let everybody else do the work for you, essentially. So cool, man. So look, what's the biggest lesson that you'll take from bodybuilding and training, and you know, that you can transfer into real life?
Discipline, consistency, patience. These are all fundamentals in bodybuilding, aren't they? Like you can't have anything overnight. You've got to work for it. You can't get your perfect physique or the physique you want in 12 weeks. You have to put the work in. You have to be consistent. You have to believe in yourself. And there are always going to be setbacks. You're not going to win every show you go into, but you've got to be able to pick yourself up and learn from them. And that's, I think bodybuilding gets a lot of stick because there's a grey area with like the steroid side of it and this and whatever. But I just feel there's so many things you can learn from bodybuilding, which you can, like you say, you can take into the business side of it. And it's been amazing for me. And I don't know where I would have been if I'd have not done that, if you know what I mean. Like I say, I've always had the competitive side in me. I've always wanted to work hard, but I don't know, having like what we've just talked about, the patience, the consistency, the discipline, I don't know, what I'd have done if I'd not had that.
I think one of the things that I took from bodybuilding was the harder I work, the better I do. And there's nothing more, like you get such a visual representation of that on stage. Yeah. And you can see that, you know, well, you're still carrying fat, you're still this, you've not worked as hard as you are, you know. So you know the shows where I've nailed everything I'm supposed to. Exactly. Yeah. And so like that's a lesson that I've learned standing in a small pair of pants in front of loads of people on stage. Exactly. So you know, 100%. You know, that's the sort of thing. You can transfer that into business. You can transfer that into relationships. You can transfer that into anything. You know, definitely. The harder the more work you put into it, the better rewards you'll get for it. Absolutely. Yeah. If you could go back to day one and do it all again, what would you do differently?
Train smarter. I think for me, I was a young guy inspired by, obviously, Dave Titton. I trained with Dave Titton from the offset. 10 years of training with a super heavyweight, young frame, growing up, male ego. I didn't want to let everyone down. And I got a lot of injuries. And although bodybuilding's been great, like I say, from the wealth aspect, and I've done quite well out of it, but health over wealth all day. And if I could go back and prevent myself from the injuries I've got, I've learned from the injuries. Like I say, I wouldn't do the silly things I've done now, but it would be nice to wake up and not be in pain one day. Absolutely. But that's what I would take from it. Everything else, like I say, you've got to make mistakes. You've got to lose those competitions and whatnot, because they make you stronger, don't they? But
and I suppose, like for yourself, you've done so well, and everything that you've done has led you to where you are today. But like
Yeah.
I say, that's just one thing that you would do a little differently.
Yeah, and I said I'm still building muscle tissue now, but just in a smarter, more controlled way. Whereas just that being a bit erratic when I was younger could have probably prevented a lot of injuries.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, mate, we're going to leave it there. I really appreciate your time. You know, Ryan, you're literally one of the nicest guys in bodybuilding, and like a mega star to boot. There's very few genuine like stars of bodybuilding fitness, and you're definitely one of them, mate. So I appreciate time coming on, mate. And
No
thanks
problem.
a lot. Great.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you need any more information on the Transformation Program, just hit the link below.